Hello, everyone. It's Makeda Valletta. I hope you all are doing well today. I am reporting live from New Orleans, and I'm going to do a little video today about healthy sexuality. A lot of you who follow me know that I'm a sacred sexual educator. I talk about sexuality all the time. And over the past few days, there's a lot that's been on my mind with all this R. Kelly stuff coming up and all these different discussions I've seen on social media about molestation and how common it is. And I know for me, working in the realm of sexuality and teaching my classes for women with nanny eggs, I have come across more sexual trauma than I ever thought that I could. I started to realize that sexual molestation seemed to be the norm. It seems like if you weren't molested, you are a minority. And there's something really sickening about that. So for years, I've asked myself what that's about. And a lot of the people I know who have been molested, who have like these crazy stories, a lot of them grew up in religious families. And I always believe that sexual suppression breeds perverts, right? So when you start having, as long as two consenting adults want to play sexually, there should be no problem. As long as it's not, you're not messing with kids or animals, or you're not doing something to someone against their will. Two consenting adults, of course, of course, none of that adult is your family either, your blood family. No, that's not good. Or your sister, your people related to you. There's certain people you shouldn't be messing with. But other than that, it shouldn't be an issue. And so there's so much that I've been thinking about, and I started realizing, okay, there's a lot of people who have warped ideas about sexuality because of the trauma that they've been through. And so someone like myself, I started to understand why some people may react to me the way they do. Some women may react to me the way they do. I've had both men and women come at me in a negative way because I am an art model and I show my body or whatever. And people like to put you in a category. If you're a girl who's shaking her ass and dancing half naked, or you pose nude, people automatically want to put you in a category of, oh, that girl has low self-esteem. She must have daddy issues. Something must have happened to her. But no, that's not the place that I operate from. I'm very close to my dad. He's played a huge role in my life, and still does. My dad was the first feminist I ever met, and I talk about that in a lot of my videos. I was never molested or sexually assaulted. My family raised me to be able to know what's appropriate, and to know that if something happened, I should talk to them. I don't think enough people are talking to their kids with that. I mean, you do have parents who find out their kids are molested and they don't protect them, they don't care. We saw that even with the R. Kelly situation. With the girl in the video, the mom denied that that was her daughter, so that's why he got off. It was the mother of the victim who did that. So you have plenty of people who are molested, and even if they tell their parents, it doesn't help, and that's awful. There's so many horrible people out here in this world that's having children, and there are a lot of people in this world that have no purpose, really have no fucking purpose. They're just a destruction to everybody's life. But it's really important. Sexual energy is healing. Marvin Gaye said it, sexual healing. It's true. And that's what sacred sexuality is about. It's about the healing properties of sexual energy and sexuality. It's incredibly important. And when you have been traumatized by that, it seems like sexual trauma seems to be the worst trauma. It seems to be the trauma that people have the hardest time recovering from. And sexuality and spirituality are of the same continuum. They're of the same continuum. They're related. That's why, I'm open-minded about sexuality, but I also think that some things that people are into says a lot about their spirit. Like people who want to be shit on during sex. Like if you want to be shit on, something is wrong with you. Okay, something is definitely wrong with your spirit. I also think, nothing is 100%, but I think that like women who want to call dudes daddy and men who want to be called daddy during sex is really gross, because I do have a dad, and when I hear the word daddy, I think of my dad. And mixing the thought of my dad and sex in the same sentence is gross. There's men who are obsessed with women being absolutely hairless, like they can't take a single pubic hair or something. If you're that paranoid, I can understand if a man doesn't want a woman to have a big bush, that's overwhelming. But if a man is like freaking out over one pubic hair and she has to be completely bald, and like that makes me wonder about him. Like, you sure you're not into kids, you know? So there's certain things, or some women who just like super rough sex, you know? So some women just want to feel, they want sex to be damn near painful, or they want a man to be damn near hurting them or getting violent. I tend to think they might have been abused sexually, and they have a screwed up, warped idea when it comes to that. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that all the time, but I tend to think that they might have been abused, and they associate pain and abuse with sex and sexuality. There's a lot that can be told, you know, you can tell about a person too. Like some people, you know, one way, you know, and then sexually people turn into something different. And some people turn into something that's kind of disturbing during sex, you know. But I think that removing the shame, you know, it's important to have a healthy sexuality. Without that, it can mess up your health. There's a lot of people with sexual trauma that have healing to do. But this idea of what healthy sexuality is really important. And I feel like what we teach our girls is important. You know, teaching girls to be independent on their own. You know, like there's a lot of cultures where women are taught to be dependent on a man. And it's cool if you believe a man should provide, but a woman should always have her own money. Because there's a lot of women who get stuck in situations that they can't get out of because they don't have money. That could never be me, and it's not a smart thing. I also think that that's one of the issues with the R. Kelly situation, too. You have, you know, I still don't understand how Drea Kelly got married to him. I still don't get that shit. I really don't. But it could be that it was money, you know, like the wrong reasons. You know, a 19-year-old should not be focused on getting married. A 19-year-old should be focused on figuring out who they are, building their life, you know, male or female. That's a problem within itself, you know. Self-love is important, you know, it's really, really important. But it's just this idea that, you know, every woman who is a sexual being and is in tune with her sexuality and expresses it, that she must be damaged or have issues. And it's like, that's not the case. And I'm starting to understand now that a lot of people think that because it is so common. It is so common. And religion, patriarchal religion, also taints people's brains when it comes to that. And, you know, this idea, you know, in Christianity that you can just repent your sins and be forgiven is ridiculous, because in matriarchal traditions, that was not the case. You always had the goddesses of justice. And if you did something that was clearly wrong, like the kind of things that R. Kelly was doing, then justice would be served in an ass. And it wasn't that, oh, you could do all this horrible stuff and then repent and now it's all good. No, you know. And teaching that is a problem. But yeah, I mean, I just, the guilt that is taught around masturbation is crazy, because, especially with women, you know, but it could be, men sometimes get that guilt too when they are, Jewish or something, because I've known really religious Jewish men that had a lot of guilt around masturbating because they were taught that, everything that they're doing, they're trying to get closer to God, and when they masturbate, it makes them further away from God, which is a problem, you know. So a lot of people have trauma around their sexuality, and sometimes religion is that. And, you know, I remember my dad, he told me, you know, my dad was an atheist, but he didn't tell me what to believe. He said, believe what makes sense to you, you know. So I went to church on my own with family, friends when I was little, and none of it made sense to me, because I always asked questions. It never made sense to me, so I was like, whatever with that. But my dad always told me the reason why that he became an atheist was because when he was a kid, he said he would be in church in Florida, and the preacher or the pastor, I don't know, I didn't grow up in church, used to tell them that they're going to rot in hell if they have any sexual thoughts. And he told me he used to fantasize over his school teacher, and he was absolutely terrified, and it just made him reject it. You know, it just made him reject it altogether and say, fuck this shit, and he never went back to being religious. But he is very knowledgeable when it comes to different religions and spiritual practices, and can talk to you about it intellectually, but he swears he doesn't believe any of it. And again, that source came from sexual shame and him rejecting that, you know. The other thing that people don't talk about is the fact that so many young boys get molested by older women, and that I don't understand either. The first time I ever heard that was also from my dad. He told me when he was 9 years old, there were these 14-year-old girls in his neighborhood that used to come to his mother's house and come to his house and used to say, oh, we're coming to get our boyfriend. And they would be laughing and giggling, and he would go off with them. And he told me that when he got there, they used to be showing them, they would show him they're private and have them play with it. And my dad talked about it like, I loved it. It was great. You know, I had fun. He didn't seem traumatized by it, right? And that's the first time I heard that, and I thought, that's crazy, because when I was 14, I wasn't thinking about messing with a 9-year-old. I wasn't thinking about messing with an 11-year-old. I wasn't thinking about messing with a 12-year-old when I was 14, you know? But then after I heard that from my dad, I heard that from so many men. So many men have told me that. And most of them don't seem bothered by it. I probably know one guy that was bothered by it because he said he was so young, and it was his mother's friend, which is absolutely sick that a grown-ass woman could be touching like a 4-year-old. Like, that's disgusting. So disgusting. And he was disturbed by it because he said he didn't know what was going on, you know? But I never in my life, even when I was an assistant track coach when I was right out of college, I was working at this high school, and the boys were all, you know, track team were all flirting with me, and there's no way in hell I would even think for a second about entertaining that. I'm like in grad school. I'm like, dude, you're in high school. Like, first, besides it being illegal and the trouble you can get into, besides that, I still wasn't interested. Why would I want somebody in high school when I've graduated from college? I don't want anybody in high school when I'm in college. You know, when I graduated high school, I was done with high school. And when I was in high school, I wasn't trying to be grown. And there's a lot of young girls that try to be grown. And it's not just girls from broken homes. I knew girls growing up that had both their parents and they were still messing with grown men. And I think we all know people like that all across the country. I don't tend to believe that 16-year-old girls don't know what they're doing. Because I remember being 16. I knew exactly what I was doing. I believe my friends knew exactly what they were doing. And none of my friends who were 16 messing with grown men ever expressed later on that they regretted it or was traumatized by it. That was their choice, you know? So that's a part of the problem, too. And I don't know what that's about. Why so many young girls want to mess with older men. I also don't know why so many older men want to mess with these young girls. Like, I don't get that. I think that an older man or older woman who's messing with young people like that has an issue. A control issue, something. Why wouldn't she want somebody that's experienced? You know what I'm saying? Why? You know, it's just kind of weird to me. You know, once you're older, those age differences don't matter so much. You know, Gabrielle Union is 10 years older than Dwayne Wade, but they're grown-ass adults. That difference makes a difference when you're young. 20 and 10? No, shouldn't happen. You know, should not happen. And so I feel like the fact that, you know, a lot of these girls, and it's not always the case, but a lot of these young girls who mess with older men is also because they might have money and these men are buying them things. Again, with teaching girls, you know, that they need to be expecting men to buy them stuff and expect getting these gifts, and instead of just working for your own shit, have your own money. You know what I'm saying? Be independent. People try to talk negatively about independent women, but an independent woman is the best thing to be. Because you want to be independent, and if you choose to be with somebody, you can be with them, but you don't need them for your survival. Because when you need somebody for your survival, you put yourself in a fucked up situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, any relationship I've ever been in, when it was over, it was over. Like, I would never stay in a relationship an extra day because there's certain money that's helping me, or nah, fuck that shit. When I'm done, I'm done. Bye. Peace. I will make it work. I ain't never going to be dependent on a single person in my life, you know? Never. So I just think, you know, that's my 2 cents about that. But I also think that, you know, having a healthy sexuality and not looking at everything like, you know, like I'm in New Orleans right now. In the South, you have these marching bands, the black marching bands, the girls with the cute outfits that dance. And I always love watching them. I don't know if they're majorettes. Like, I always, you know, if I were to go into HBCU or grew up in the South, I would have definitely been one of those girls. I love the movements they do, the outfits they wear. And I was talking to a friend of mine who lived down here once, and she was telling me that she didn't like it because she felt like the young girls were over-sexualized. And I didn't agree with her with that, but I think that, you know, because some of the young girls are molested, sometimes when people see young girls being sassy and being like, you know, the young girl sexy that they're learning in these moves is very feminine, some people think it's inappropriate. But to me, it's like these girls are in the safety of the band. So they're surrounded by girls. They're surrounded. It's not like they're doing this dance on a stage full of grown men. I mean, for grown men or something like that. It's not like they're going in front of grown men and trying to seduce them. They're just, you know, there are womanly arts. There's feminine movement. And in a lot of cultures, girls learn that young. You go to Jamaica, you see girls winding. Jamaica, Trinidad, you see girls winding from young. You go, you know, in the Polynesian islands in Hawaii, girls learn the hula from the time they're little. They start learning hula, these intense contractions of the hips. You know, so that happens from when you're young. And it's done in the safety of community. You know, it's the perverts that exist that have perverted everything, and then have people's minds messed up when they see stuff like that. You know, but we all come from sex. We're sexual beings. You know, young girls should not be in a rush to have sex. They should not be in a rush to mess with grown men and try to be grown before they are. They should not feel like when they're 19 they have to get married, you know. And masturbation is important because masturbation is how you get to know yourself. A lot of times boys just start masturbating naturally. I've never met a boy that told me he doesn't masturbate. There are plenty of women that claim they don't masturbate. I don't really understand that because I just don't get how you just don't get horny enough to touch yourself. I don't understand that. Like, I just never understood that when women say that, but a lot of women don't. I started masturbating before I even knew what masturbation was. I just knew it felt good, you know. And I wasn't thinking about having sex with people. I wasn't thinking about having sex with grown men. None of that, you know. And I was so adamant about not losing my virginity before I turned 16. No. And I was like the last person. All my friends were having sex at 14, 13, you know. Absolutely not. People used to try to pressure me. Nope. And, you know, I wasn't doing that in high school. I was focused on being a good student, being a good athlete, dancing, going to college. And I really feel like that's what young girls should be focused on. You know, like, young girls need to be empowered. People aren't doing their job. I don't know, you know. Just cultivate that so that when you grow up, you know your body, you know what you want, you know what you like. And girls shouldn't be accepting anything less, you know. So there's just a lot of different things to say about the sexuality thing. I would like to know more from the men who have been touched by older women when they were younger, like what that was for you. Because I know a lot of men that brag about it, but then I've known men that say, oh, those men who brag about it, they just don't know how to process their emotions. But I would like to know, you know, from the men. I'm going to post this video on my YouTube page, The Renaissance Amazon, so feel free to write your comments on that video. And I'm going to go because I got work to do. And thank you for listening. Have a great day, people. Bye.